Welcome everyone to the immunization update for local health departments. Today is November 18th, 2025, and I'll be your moderator, Eugene Baronilla. Next slide, please. In today's webinar, you can ask questions using the double chat icon to the very left, and that way the subject matter experts can respond to your questions. And please note that the links are blue and underlined within the slides. Next slide, please. And just some housekeeping rules for all. The slides for these LHJ calls are located in the SharePoint slide. That would be the first link. And if you need help with access to this SharePoint site, please email rphoadmin@cdph.ca.gov. And if you have post-webinar questions, please call the provider call center. They are very helpful with a lot of questions, and they'll be assisting with post-webinar questions and clarifications as well. Next slide, please. Today's agenda, after announcements, Dr. Schechter will give us a CDPH branch update, followed by two school topics. First with Christian Finch about school reporting as the deadline is approaching, and maybe a tool can help through squirrels. We'll hear from Amy Pine. The next set of topics will be programmatic, beginning with Christina Sapad for vaccines for children and some announcements about changes with holiday shipments. And Christina will continue with LHD 317 updates. Next slide, please. Nisha Gandhi will then follow with the State General Fund Program, and then VFA, Vaccines for Adults, with Lindsay Reynoso. We have Haley Maeda following with the COVID-19 vaccine data support, and then we'll get into systems topics, beginning with care with Cecilia Sandoval. And then with vaccine management, the dynamic duo, Josh and Dan, are going to be joined by Angel today. So first we'll hear from Josh about My Turn, then Angel with the digital vaccine records, DVR, and Dan Conway follows with My CA Vax. We'll provide some announcements, and then if time permits, we'll go over some of your questions. For now, we'd like to welcome the folks who are on. And I'd like to say that this slide usually has Leslie Amani, and she gave her farewell last month, and we all wish her luck, and she wishes us luck as we continue without her. And speaking of first, what we'd like to ask is that if this is the first time that you are attending an LHJ call, can you please put the information in the Q&A and indicate your full name, title, and the jurisdiction or county public health department that you represent. If you are not an LHJ staff representative, we kindly ask that you please sign off, and you can join the provider updates on Friday. Next slide, please. And we're all familiar with each other. If you remember this from just 6 months ago, this is when, after a 5-year hiatus, we all got together in Southern California, and more than half of the state actually participated in the immunization coordinators meeting. So please lean in, because next slide, please. We'd like to announce now that we will have a 2026 immunization coordinators meeting. It's slated for Tuesday, June 2nd. It will be in Sacramento. We'll give the hotel details later. We're announcing this now because we'd like you to look at your travel budgets. We'd like you to look at your staffing, which one or two folks could best represent your jurisdiction in Sacramento, and maybe start seeing what is required for approval for travel. It will be in person. We may not be able to broadcast it live. So please count on being there in person. And the following days is going to be another early announcement. Next slide, please. June 2nd through Thursday, June 4th will be the CIC Summit, also in Sacramento, same hotel. Again, CIC isn't ready to announce the hotel yet, although we know where it is, but it won't be public quite yet. It will be in Sacramento. And this time, listening to your suggestions, we are going to try the immunization coordinators meeting prior to the CIC summit. So that way everyone comes fresh and ready and energized. You'll get to meet your colleagues and get reacquainted. And then you'll have some friends along the way in the next 2 or 3 days during the summit. So let's see how that works. We'll give you announcements in the many, many months to come, but please mark your calendars for June 2nd through June 4th for both events. Next slide, please. There are quite a few changes as well. There's a pending change with the EZIZ website. It would have a new URL. However, we will postpone that because of some background speed bumps to get over. And in the meantime, you can access the regular content through the eziz.org URL. We will give you information as soon as we're ready to go live with the new web address. Next slide, please. Now, for yourself and colleagues who may identify yourself or communities as Latino, Latina, Latinx, the CDPH Latino Heritage Equity Workgroup would like to administer a survey so that we can learn how communities in California would like to be identified. This slide has a link to the survey. It's less than 10 questions, and please share widely, and that way we can have a uniform way to reference certain communities in the way that they would like. Next slide, please. And it's that time of year where it's fall vaccinations. We are offering a COVID-19 vaccine toolkit. There are 3 links on the slide pointing you to the CDPH vaccine toolkit, some information about COVID-19, and how you can work with social media to spread the word about getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Next slide, please. And speaking of communication, please be mindful, especially during now, as it's raining across the state, that there may be some emergencies, in particular power shutoffs. And so this is a good time when you look at your vaccine management plan and go to the emergency section and make sure that it's up to date. So then that way you and staff know what to do in case the power goes off. Please reference the October 20th email from our communications teams for more information and additional resources. Next slide, please. And there is an ACIP meeting scheduled early in December, December 4th through 5th. The agenda hasn't yet been finalized, but in general, the cohort will look at childhood and adolescent immunization schedules, hepatitis B vaccines. There may be a vote on that, and they'll look at the ACIP work groups. There are 3 links on the slide for more information. The first link is the ACIP meeting information. The second link is the draft agenda, and the third would be ACIP recent meeting recommendations. Please look into those if you'd like to participate in that national meeting. Next slide, please. And we'd like to invite Dr. Schechter to give us immunization branch updates. Dr. Schechter, please go ahead.
Thank you, Eugene, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm actually going to say 1 or 2 things, hopefully quickly right now, and then I'd like to come back in briefly again after you hear about from Haley Maeda, from Nisha and Haley Maeda around some of our fall immunization efforts. Um, just to say that uh, two things for the moment. One is with the holidays approaching, the time when most people get their fall immunizations is quickly coming to an end over the next 6 weeks, and it reinforces the importance of our efforts to try and get as many doses out um, together with our private partners. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is you may have seen in the newspaper over the last weeks that Canada has lost its official measles elimination status due to ongoing transmission for over a year in Canada, and that there was a newspaper article today about some news from CDC that with a ongoing outbreak in the Southwest, north of the Grand Canyon area, proceeding, and that strain being related to the even larger Texas, New Mexico, and adjacent state outbreak earlier in the year, that if transmission of the strain in both those outbreaks continues into January, that the United States would be in a similar position to Canada and at risk of losing its elimination status until it can show absence of transmission within the United States for a year. Gloomy news. However, I think it's a silver lining is that in California today, we've had a little over 20 cases detected this year, and we haven't seen ongoing transmission in California, which is a reflection of your efforts and our collective efforts to keep immunization rates high in our communities and to work with communities that may have lower rates, specific social networks, cultural groups, or other affiliated groups that may have lower rates because they may be vulnerable if we have importation from another country or another state into California. So I'll be back on with some more about fall vaccination in a little bit. But thank you for your work, and thank you for listening. Back to you, Eugene.
Thank you, Dr. Schechter. And we'd like to remind you if you have any questions to please type in the Q&A. And we do see messages that some of the links may not work. And the website support team is working feverishly in the back to make sure that we have those resources for you. And at this point, I'd like to quickly recognize the website support team. We have Rebecca Boyd, Blanca Corona, Jane Gray, Cecilia Lavu, and in particular today, Michael Fortunka, who's helping with the slides, and Anya Gutman, who is working with the links. With Leslie not being here, it takes these many people to do everything that she does. Actually, many of us have already been supporting with Leslie. And I just want to say for folks on the call, this is a personal note. It takes so much effort to make sure that we provide you with seamless, up-to-date information, and the website support team work really, really hard weeks prior to these calls. So I, for one, now know what it takes, and I give them major applause. And speaking of applause, next slide, please. Let's talk about ending the school reporting season on a high note. So let's begin with Kristen Finch.
Thank you, Eugene. Next slide, please. Just wanted to give a reminder on behalf of my colleagues that the Binational Immunization Guide has been posted on Shots for School. And special shout out to San Diego and Riverside counties for helping us develop these materials. This tool is primarily for school staff looking to interpret records from Mexico. Next slide, please. And as Eugene was saying, school reporting deadline is approaching. For schools, it is December 5th. And so I just wanted to post it up, all the resources that are available to schools. And I know these seems redundant, but please, please, please check out the FAQs. They are truly very frequently asked questions, and they will help you guide schools along the way. One other really important resource for schools is the Care Hub user guide. As a reminder, we've been using the quote unquote new reporting site for the last couple of years, but there are always new staff members coming on. So please remind schools and childcare staff that each individual reporting will need their own login. And this does use multi-factor authentication. So please make sure that they are signing in early and not at the deadline. But we all know how that goes. Next slide, please. And these are our LHD resources on the IZ coordinator site. Thank you to all the new LHDs and staff members for reaching out to me, trying to get all of these different logons. If you still need access to any of these sites, please email me. Unlike schools, if you are a new LHD, you do also need your own Care Hub login, but you can't sign up for yourself. You have to email myself and the Care Hub help desk, and we can get you set up with that login. It's different from how a school gets logged in. One of the most important resources, especially now that some schools and childcares have started their reporting, is the follow-up job aid. The follow-up job aid gives you a outline of all of the deadlines coming up, some quick links, and kind of more importantly, those FAQs that I was previously emphasizing for schools, it's kind of more scenarios about that. And so if you're having trouble after looking at the FAQs on how to help a school, the follow-up guide will generally have more information depending on the scenario. Next slide, please. And just a reminder, here it is again, the LHD follow-up job aid with all those things I just told you about. And if you don't find anything in here that you still need help with, and I know it's a lot of really dense information because we get our data from DSS and CDE, and just the acronym and all those lingos make the scenarios complicated. If you still need help, I'm always here as a resource for you. So if you are an LHD, please reach out to me directly. You don't have to go through the school assessments inbox unless you're including a school with that. But if you are just the LHD needing help, please email me. Next slide, please. And just going along with our follow-up policy, please continue to follow up with all of your schools and childcares, getting them to report. In the past, we've always emphasized trying to focus on kindergarten reporting because that is our cohort that kind of gets the most press, and we submit that data to CDC. And as Rob was mentioning, the importance of getting MMR and all our routine immunizations is that school reporting is really one of the great sources of data that we have for measles. And so aiming to get at least 95% or more schools to report is so, so important. I mean, our goal is 100% because we do a census. That means we survey everyone. So just a reminder that all of this is in your scope of work, and now is the time to get our schools to report. Especially now, I just wanted to remind you that us at the state, we've been sending email reminders, but now, and you'll see in the follow-up guide, now is the time to start making those phone calls. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to thank these counties with over 50% reporting. We have Alpine, Plumas, Mono, Mariposa, Sierra, Glen, Tehama, Butte, Placer, Nevada, Yolo, San Diego, Tulare, Contra Costa, Marin, Sacramento, San Luis Obispo, Colusa. You guys are over 50, halfway there for kindergarten reporting. And, there are a lot of other counties that were very close to the 50% mark, but I couldn't include all of you. But statewide, we're still at 44% reporting. And so I know obviously if you're a smaller county, it was a little easier to make this list, but there are some larger counties on this list. So I wanted to thank you for your steady reminders to schools and for all of your support. But we essentially have 2 more weeks left. Next slide, please. Yeah, we essentially have 2 more weeks left. We have this week, and then next week it's already Thanksgiving. Some school districts have all next week off, some only have Thanksgiving and a couple days off. So there are kind of 2 weeks left essentially to report, and we're not going to extend the deadline for schools. That deadline is a hard close on December 5th. And then the LHDs have 2 more weeks after that to follow up, but you should get schools to report for themselves. Otherwise, you have to manually do it, which is not ideal. So, like I said, we sent out our last communication last week. I highly recommend you to send an email reminder that final week and start calling child cares in schools now when you have the time. Thank you so much for all of your efforts. I know it's not easy. If you have any questions, please email me.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kristen. We do have a question. I wonder if we can take some time if you can keep your mic on. This is from Lily Wynn. If the district has a new school, is the district responsible to register or enroll the school, or is it the LHD?
Well, in terms of, I'm not sure if this is relating to Care Hub, but essentially, if there's a new school, it should be registered with CDE in the California directory, and we're automatically updating that information from CDE weekly. And so, if a new school is registered with the California directory, then and which is the CDE, then they will automatically be on our site. But in terms of having a Care Hub login, the school and individual staff members responsible for setting that up themselves. You can't do it for them because you have to set up a password and such.
Okay,
I hope
thanks.
that
And
answers the question.
Lily said thank you. So appreciate your live response. One more for you, Kristen. Does the communication to the schools let them know that the LHD can report for them for 2 weeks after the 5th?
No, that is secret information just for you. All of our communications to the schools say that the deadline is December 5th. We've found in recent years, especially as our deadline has kind of ebbed and flowed, is that um, people will just always push the deadline. So that's why we keep it December 5th for the schools.
Great clarification. Thank you. Next slide, please. We'll hear about an awesome tool that could help us with school reports. Amy Pine, please take it away.
Good afternoon, all. Amy Pine here, and I'm so happy to talk about my one slide today because I think it's a pretty neat development for the school and childcare roster lookup tool, what we also call Squirrel. Next slide, please. I'm happy to announce that there is a new vaccine export feature in Squirrel. As you know, Squirrel can accept single students or entire rosters of students to check their immunization readiness status to enter school. And Squirrel users can now download full immunization histories of vaccines that are required for school entry. This new export roster button appears on Squirrel's roster management page after a student roster file is returned from Care back to Squirrel. So when a user clicks on the export roster button, a CSV file is generated with the student's names, their dates of birth, and all of the dates and names of the administered doses found in Care that have to do with school law. And then the really neat thing is that schools can then take the CSV file of vaccine histories and use it to help populate their own student information systems like PowerSchool and um, oh my gosh, I like right before talking, I knew the name of more than one student information system, but now the only thing that's coming to mind is PowerSchool. Anyway, say this could save valuable data entry time, and vaccine histories have not traditionally been downloadable from Squirrel, but now they are. So we're just getting started spreading this great news. We currently have a message in the notification section of Squirrel itself, but we will be communicating with Squirrel users in the future as well so that they know about this new enhancement that could really help them And the information is still being updated in the user guides, but with these local health department calls happening only monthly, I wanted to be sure to let you all know as soon as possible about this new enhancement because it's really great news. And that is all I have to say. Thanks so much, and I'll take any questions about it in the Q&A section. Back to you, Eugene. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Yes, that was short and sweet. And as someone who had to do school reports as well, the Squirrel tool is amazing. Folks, I don't know if you remember doing all this by hand and printing out cards and going through. So thank you, CDPH, for offering this tool. And I hope you all will get a chance to see how helpful it is. Next slide, please. With schools, we come to talking about students and children. The next set of topics will focus on program funding updates, beginning with Christina Sapad for Vaccines for Children and announcements about holiday shipments.
Great. Thank you, Eugene. My name is Christina Sapad. I'm the Assistant Section Chief for the Vaccine Management and Vaccines for Children section. Next slide. Okay, so I'll start out with talking about our seasonal immunizations available through the VFC program. And as I've talked about before, and I also want to continue to remind our providers, and for you to remind your providers as well, is as part of the VFC program requirements, active VFC providers are expected to order and administer all ACIP recommended immunizations to VFC eligible patients that they serve. And one thing to keep in mind is that they would not be penalized for any vaccine loss resulting from unused expired seasonal immunizations. And this is language that we have in our VFC provider agreement addendum. It will also be part of the addendum for 2026. But for providers with expired vaccines who ordered the minimum quantity or ordered seasonal vaccines such as flu and RSV, those vaccines will not be considered a negligent loss. So we really don't want providers to worry about potential vaccine wastage in the end because it's really hard to gauge demand, what demand would be for seasonal immunizations. So we want them to at least carry a minimum supply on hand, especially should a parent arrive at your clinic seeking immunizations for their child. So that's something that we're trying to continue to emphasize to our VFC providers. Next slide. And if you do need vaccines before your full routine VFC order is due, you can submit a supplemental order. So with the VFC program, we have routine ordering schedules based on a provider's volume size. So for example, high volume providers order monthly, low volume providers typically would order every 3 months. So if it's not your routine VFC order time period, you can still create a new order. And you would just indicate if you need flu, RSV, or COVID vaccines by selecting seasonal vaccines under the reason why you are submitting your order outside of your routine order frequency. So feel free to continue ordering as needed for your seasonal immunizations. The system will not stop you. It will just ask for a reason why. Next slide. Okay, and a couple of updates regarding our seasonal immunizations. I'll start off with flu and RSV. So this is for the RSV monoclonal antibody orders. So both of these products had a pre-book. So providers had a chance to pre-book flu vaccine earlier this year, back in January. And for RSV, they were able to pre-book that late summer. And because these were pre-booked products, we already knew ahead of time what provider demand and product preference was, which was why we were able to do automatic shipments of those pre-booked doses. And we have already shipped out at least 50% of providers approved pre-book. So now we're at that point where we are no longer doing automatic shipments since we've already shipped out at least 50%. So really, the next steps for providers is to continue ordering up to your approved pre-book amount throughout the remainder of the season. And we will approve your orders based on usage and on-hand inventory and also available supply. If you happen to not have pre-booked flu or RSV, we have allocated a minimum amount. But if you do need additional allocations, you would just need to reach out to the VFC program either by email or by phone number here. Next slide. And now with COVID-19 vaccine orders, we handled that a bit different. So COVID-19 vaccines, we did not have a pre-book. We did open it up for ordering as soon as the product became available through CDC, and we opened that up on October 6th. So really, providers are at this point where they just need to continue ordering COVID-19 vaccines on the MyCAVax order form. We will not proactively ship doses to providers. I think there may be a bit of confusion since we have proactively shipped doses for flu and RSV. For COVID, we are expecting providers to go in and place that vaccine request. So automatic shipments were not implemented, and there's no COVID-19 vaccine allocations for providers. So really, we want to make sure that providers continue to order, even though it's not currently required by CDC to order COVID-19 vaccine. CDPH still strongly encourages VFC providers to order COVID-19 vaccines to ensure access for any child whose family seeks protection against COVID disease. So, and the other thing to consider too is COVID-19 vaccines may not be available to patients at other sites, as most providers will not accept outside patients, and most pharmacies do not immunize young children, which is why we also have SGS COVID vaccine available for the younger patients. But more to talk about with that in another part of the presentation. But next slide, please. Okay, so that was just a reminder about ordering. And then one thing I do want to let providers know, and all of you know, is our FluMist replacement program. That's actually not from the VFC program, but it's actually a program between AstraZeneca and McKesson. And this is unrelated to CDC's contract with the FluMist vaccine, but basically the FluMist replacement program, for those who have taken advantage of this in previous years, it allows for the replacement of any unused expiring FluMist doses at no cost. And this helps to make sure that you can maximize product usage opportunities. So starting December 1st through January 30th, requests can be made. And if you are interested in taking advantage of the replacement program, you would contact AstraZeneca directly. And the email and phone number for that program is here. And this is only for publicly purchased doses. This does not apply to privately purchased FluMist vaccine. And the vaccine has to expire on or before February 1st. And McKesson would need to receive it by February 14, 2026. So please utilize this opportunity if you can. That way you can swap out any expiring FluMist doses with longer dated vaccine. Next slide. Okay, so the holiday shipping schedule. So this doesn't just apply for VFC, but just all of our CDPH vaccine orders, so LHD 317 orders, SGF. So please keep this in mind with the holidays coming up. Be sure to submit your vaccine orders in advance of the holidays to prevent any delays in receiving vaccines, because you need time to place the order. We also need time to review and approve those orders. And we say maintain a minimum of 2 weeks. I would actually say maintain a minimum of maybe 4 weeks of inventory to allow for time to process and to ship your vaccine. And it's already kind of too late now, but any orders approved on or after November 17, those may not ship until the week of December 1st. And this is something that we had already communicated with our providers a couple of weeks ago so that they're aware of the holiday shipping timelines. But the other thing to keep in mind as we approach December, any orders approved after December 11 may not ship before the new year. So there will still be limited shipping. And when I say limited shipping, it's mainly for urgent vaccine orders or urgent requests. And so limited shipping the weeks of November 24th, so that's Thanksgiving week, December 22nd, that's Christmas week, and December 29th, that week, that's the New Year's holiday week. So for sure, McKesson and also the vaccine manufacturers that do direct ship, they will not deliver routine vaccines on the following dates. So mainly Thanksgiving holiday, Christmas holiday, New Year's Day holiday, and also in January, the MLK Junior Day holiday. So keep those dates in mind and make sure that you go in and submit your orders ahead of time and plan for that holiday limited shipping schedule. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to shift gears a bit and talk about recertification because it is also a VFC program requirement. And many of you may have already done recertification in previous years, but it is an annual VFC program requirement. And this is to maintain a provider's active status with the VFC program. We typically open up recertification towards the end of the year, We plan on opening it up next month, mid-December. Likely it will be December 19, and the due date would be in late January. I know last year the due date was mid-February, but that was because last year was our first time doing recertification in the new system. We wanted to give providers more time. So hopefully providers now have a little bit more experience with the recertification process. So the due date will likely be the end of January. We will send multiple communications before the recertification launch and also during recertification, just making sure that providers are prepared. But things that you can do now to prepare is one thing, ensure that your account is in good standing. Any providers who are suspended with mandatory corrective actions from a site visit, they would not be allowed to submit the recertification form. Also make sure that your digital data logger calibration is not expired, and be prepared to upload a copy of your calibration certificate on the recertification form. So that will be required to upload. Next slide. And recertification, it's not just a form, it's a process. This is the resource that we had shared in 2025, but it will be similar for 2026. The main thing is to maintain your good account status. You can gather information ahead of time, complete the required annual training, then you would do the actual recertification form in MyCEVAX. Once you go through the form, verify and update your practice information, make sure that everything is correct and up to date. And then at the end, you would submit your recertification for e-signature, and that will go to your provider of record to review the 2026 provider agreement and the addendum. Next slide. Okay, so I know this question just came up in the Q&A for the EZIZ lesson requirements. So part of recertification, of course, is the annual training requirement, which is done through EZIZ and through the EZIZ lessons. Now, since all the lessons were updated in 2025, there were no changes for this upcoming year. There will be a test out option. So those who have done recertification in the past may remember about the test out option. Basically, if you had passed the lesson previously and you receive a passing score on the pre-lesson quiz this year, you have the option to either test out or you can take the lessons again if you wanted to. But either way, if you do that passing score, you will get credit for completing the annual training requirement for recertification. And like I said earlier, with recertification due mid-December, you can actually take the lessons ahead of time. So the anticipated date that you can start taking the lessons or doing the test out is December 1st. So keep that in mind, but of course we will communicate that out to everybody. And then a link here is to the recertification frequently asked questions. We will update that for this coming 2026 recertification, but a lot of the answers still apply. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to shift gears and talk a little bit about pre-book. So we're still in the midst of our 2025-2026 flu season, but we are planning for next season, so the 2026-2027 season. VFC flu pre-book will be available sometime in mid to late January, and we would typically have a due date in early February. Of course, the final confirmed dates will be communicated to everybody, but now's a good time to really start discussing with your organization the flu products you anticipate needing for the upcoming season and the number of doses. And basically, providers who do not pre-book, we will be allocating you products based on remaining supply, and you would not have a brand preference. So that, of course, is the downside of not pre-booking. And Eugene, I think that's my last slide for VFC.
Thank you, Christina. And if you'd like to continue with the following slides.
Great, thank you.
You got it.
Okay, so shifting gears even more, I will talk now about Local Health Department 317 vaccines. Next slide. Okay, so adult COVID-19 vaccines. So now that the Bridge Access Program is no longer available, we did incorporate COVID-19 vaccines as part of our routine LHD 317 vaccine ordering. And we made COVID-19 vaccines available to order as of October 6th. So if you have not ordered already, or if you already ordered, please continue to do so. The COVID-19 vaccine available through the LHD 317 program is for patients uninsured or underinsured who are 19 years of age or older. So you can refer to the email that was sent on Thursday, October 16, if you want more detailed information The name of the letter is the CA-LHD 317 program, 25-26 COVID-19 vaccine ordering. And the important thing to keep in mind is that any COVID-19 vaccine that you order for LHD 317 must be administered at the approved enrolled LHD 317 location or as part of your special outreach clinics. Do not transfer or redistribute to outside providers. Next slide. And as a reminder, these are the adult COVID-19 vaccines that we have available for ordering through LHD 317. So we have Moderna, Sanofi, and Pfizer. So those are available for ordering. Next slide. And for allocation. So as you all know, our 317 budget is limited, but we did allocate 20,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine supply for the entire 25-26 season. So we made around 67% of that total 20,000 doses available for local health departments, and the remaining supply would be available for our active vaccines for adult providers. So we did initially in October implement allocation limits, and we shared the spreadsheet with you so that you know what your allocation limits are. But now we're at the point where you can now order beyond your initial allocation. So if you do need additional COVID-19 vaccine supply, just please continue to order COVID-19 vaccine on your LHD 317 order. Please draw down as much as you can. Now's the perfect time to go in and order COVID-19 vaccine. Next slide. Okay, and I talked about VFC recertification earlier. LHD recertification will also be coming soon, around the same time. And in previous years, we used to have LHD, VFA, and VFC recertification all in that one form when we were in the old system. But now that we're in MyCDPH, it is a separate process and a separate form. So you would need to recertify for LHD 317 aside from your VFC recertification. So we expect to open this up around December 19 with a due date in late January. And we, of course, will send you more communications. And the other thing to keep in mind is to make sure that the information that you include as part of your LHD recertification, especially with your key practice staff, make sure that that is up to date, because a lot of the information that we will get from your submitted LHD 317 recertification for 2026, we might pull that in as we prepare for the new outbreak program in MyCDPH, which we will talk a lot about. So just be sure that your information is up to date so that we can utilize that same information and those same contacts for the other program. And Eugene, I think that is my last slide. Back to you.
Thank you, Christina. We really appreciate your taking two topics back to back. And for everyone on the call, if you've heard Christina say recertification a few more times, you'll hear it some more. It's that season. We really commend you for handling everything that's happening during the fall. And my takeaway of, again, please keep slide 34 in mind. There's recertification steps there that you can reference, and then slide 32 about the shipments for the holiday season. Next, we'll hear about SGF, State General Fund, from Nisha Gandhi.
Thank you, Eugene. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Next slide, please. I'll provide two updates today. First, I'll start with our state flu supply. As you can see, we are pulling through, all of you are pulling through your allocations. We are still sitting on some inventory. So I just want to, as now that we're mid-November and the holidays are approaching, we really would like for all of you to take a look at your remaining virtual inventory and to let us know if you're not planning on using your virtual inventory. We will be reaching out. I will say that Flublok has been particularly in demand in certain areas around the state. And so if you are sitting on any virtual inventory of Flublok, we will be likely reaching out to see if you have plans to use your full inventory. As Christina mentioned already, the flu replacement program begins December 1st. State purchase doses are eligible since they were purchased off the federal contract. So the information provided by VFC will apply also to SGF FluBist. So I'm going to, next slide, please. and switch gears and talk about our Spikevax supply. As you know, last month we mentioned that we have a total season allocation of 5,500 doses for health departments. We have given you all an allocation, and you can find it in my CAVAX. And of I believe it's we uploaded today, but it is not a lot. So we certainly, and we know many of you are still planning in that kind of a planning phase and reaching out to providers in your area to see if anyone is interested in these doses. So let us know if you've got questions. I did send out a form for collecting insurance information. As we mentioned before, we're really interested in learning who receives these doses, especially those under the age of 3 with insurance who is prioritized for these doses. So I'm going to stop there. And I know Dr. Schechter wanted to speak up, but maybe he will after Haley's update.
Thank you, Nisha. On that note, if we can move to the next slide, please. Oh, we'll hear first from Lindsay Reynoso about VFA, Vaccines for Adults.
Great. Thank you, Eugene. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lindsay Reynoso, the Vaccines for Adults VFA coordinator with a few updates to share. So next slide, please. So just a friendly reminder that we still have the available 2025-2026 COVID-19 vaccines to order. With the end of the federal funding for the California Bridge Access Program, we are offering limited doses of COVID-19 through VFA, as previously mentioned. The following COVID-19 products are available, as you can see on this table, which includes your Spikevax, Nuvaxovid, and Comirnaty. So next slide, please. So this supplemental ordering window for COVID-19 has been open for a little over a month and a half and will remain open until our supply has been depleted. Eligibility for these COVID-19 vaccines through the VFA program will remain unchanged. So this includes adults aged 19 years and older who are either uninsured or underinsured. Also, a reminder that vaccines ordered through the VFA program should only be administered at the VFA or approved VFA location and should not be redistributed to outside providers. For more detailed information on COVID-19 vaccine recommendations, storage and handling, and ordering information, please refer to the emailed VFA COVID-19 program letter. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the allocated supply is very limited. We only have about 4,000 doses allocated for our VFA providers. This may be subject to change as we continue to monitor demand. We also have increased the cap to 100 doses for our providers. Any subsequent orders or requests will be approved based on available supply. VFA providers will order COVID-19 vaccine via your usual VFA order form in My CAVAX. But please keep in mind that when you are ordering COVID-19 vaccines, will be the only vaccines available through this supplemental ordering window. Other routine vaccines will be available at our next ordering window, which is sometime in January. Next slide, please. So switching gears to speak on recertification again, I won't expand too much since Christina covered a lot of that same information on the previous sections. So like VFC and LHD 317, the anticipated launch date for VFA recertification will be sometime in mid-December. As Christina also mentioned, please be aware that if your clinic is enrolled in multiple CDPH immunization programs, that there will be complete or separate recertifications for each program. And as we approach this time, staff should be preparing information ahead of time for completion of the recertification once it's launched. The only thing we ask is that you wait to complete or test out of the EZIZ lessons until December 1st to ensure your staff receive credit and validation for the upcoming recertification. Some more information will be sent out, including the updated agreements as we approach the launch date. So please be on the lookout for that. Next slide, please. So speaking of the EZIZ lessons, the requirement will remain the same as the previous year. So for the LHD 317 clinics, you will be required to complete the LHD 317 program requirements lesson. And for VFA providers, they must complete the VFA program requirements lesson listed on this table. The lessons that don't have questions, we do ask that you please actually read through the entire document to ensure that you understand all the program requirements and any changes that have been made. And for all the other lessons, although they're not required, it is highly encouraged that VFA program staff still complete these lessons. Next slide, please. So who has access to the recertification form? Clinics that can open and submit a recertification form will include all active VFA providers. This includes providers that are on hold and any providers who are suspended, with the exception of those who are suspended for overdue mandatory corrective actions. So please make sure that your clinic is in good standing so that you have full access to the recertification form. Those user types that have access to completing the actual recertification form in MyCAVax will be your vaccine coordinator. So that includes your primary vaccine coordinator, backup, organizational, or any other additional vaccine coordinators. Next slide, please. So I know we have not established or shared an exact launch date or deadline date, but please keep in mind to complete your recertification in a timely manner. If a site does not complete the recertification by the deadline, the program location will be placed on hold and then eventually suspended. And once in suspended status, clinics will be unable to submit any vaccine orders or will be unable to send or receive any vaccine transfers. So by the absolute deadline, providers may risk termination from the VFA program. And as many of you know, it will be difficult to re-enroll in the VFA program since enrollment is currently closed and only based on available 317 budget. So I believe that is my last slide, so I will hand it back to you, Eugene. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. As promised, lots of information about recertification. You'll hear that in the next couple months because it's super, super important that you and your providers recertify. We do not want to lose anyone due to lack of recertification. So the slides that you could reference, slide number 35, Christina mentioned about testing out. And then what Lindsay just shared, slides 49 through 52, can give you more information. In addition, Anya's last post in the chat is a recertification FAQ. Please reference that as well to help you for this recertification season. Next slide, please. Next, we have Haley Maeda to talk about COVID-19 data support, and she may be joined by Dr. Schechter and other speakers. Haley?
Thanks, Eugene, and hi, everyone. I'm Haley Maeda, and today I'll be doing the COVID-19 data update. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot of the current COVID-19 vaccine data. From the beginning, we're about 106.7 million total doses administered. Of those from this season, about 2.9 million have been administered, and that comes out to about 2.8 COVID-19 recipients for this 2025-2026 season. Statewide, that's about 7.3% of the population considered to be up to date, and that ranges by county, as seen by the map, from 1.5 to 19.9%. Next slide, please. Here's a look at week-over-week trends broken down by different age groups. The orange would be the 50 to 64 and 65 plus, and then the blue to green is the younger populations. This chart shows the beginning of the 2025-2026 season with authorization August 27th all the way to the left. We had a peak in doses administered in late September / early October, and I've had a drop in doses administered. From the colors, you can see the majority of the doses administered were among the 50 to 64 and 65 plus age group. Next slide, please. Here's a look at the COVID-19 vaccine data over time with the 7-day moving average compared to last season. So one thing to notice is that the shape is pretty similar, but compared to last season, the uptake has dropped off quite a bit, or a little bit, I should say. But we still have rest of the year to see how uptake goes for the rest of the respiratory season. Next slide, please. Looking at the vaccine data by age group, this is this season compared to last season by 65 plus, 56 to 64, 18 to 49, and under 18. Last season, we did see higher uptake across all these age groups. For example, currently the 65 plus is 21.7% for this season, but last season at this time of the year was at 28.1%. And these differences ranges from the 65 plus age group from minus 6.4% to the under 18 age group at minus 0.3% difference. Next slide, please. And finally, taking a look at the this COVID-19 vaccine data by age group and provider type. Here we can see that the provider type varies by age group, with the share of doses administered by pharmacies is about 50% for adults, whereas for the children or pediatric doses, the majority are coming from the non-pharmacy, likely their providers, medical providers, which is expected. And that's all I have, so I'll hand it off to Dr. Schechter, I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley. Thanks, Eugene. If you can keep it on this slide for a second. So as I mentioned at the top of the hour, we're going into sort of the last month and a half or so of peak fall vaccination. Our rates are lower for COVID, and there's not much time left to get those doses out before likely winter surges ahead of us. I want to call your attention here to that top bar under 5 years old, where, as you would expect, nearly all those doses are being given at regular sources of care, the medical home, the primary care settings. Pharmacy, not an option for independent initiation of vaccination for children under 3, in nearly all pharmacies around the state. So there's not a place to refer those kids to. There isn't that community pharmacy that might be able to accommodate older adolescents or the adults and for those adults where a majority of those doses are being given in the pharmacy setting. It's not on the screen, but we've been looking at care data about how many provider sites have reported to care about giving COVID vaccine. And those numbers have been dropping at all age groups over the last few years as COVID vaccine went from being all purchased by the federal government to a lot of it being having to be purchased on the commercial market. And as one example of that, for those children under up to their 3rd birthday, there were up to 2,700 sites that were giving COVID vaccine 3 years ago to those kids, according to Doses in Care. And to season to date, it's about 1,100, so fewer than half of the number of sites, large and small, that have been ordering and stocking and giving COVID vaccine. So the reason for going over these numbers again is asking you to think carefully about what is your plan for both your VFC kids in your community and those privately insured kids where they're having a hard time, those families who want it, knowing that demand is low, but there are still families searching for those doses, and where can they go in your county or your area to get a dose if they want to be protected as recommended. So we've got about a third of counties so far that have ordered those modest amounts of state general fund purchased, and we know that that isn't the permanent solution to having more access. But please have a plan in place about where kids in your jurisdiction can have access if they are choosing to get vaccine. And thank you for those who have made those plans and ordered, and those of you who are in progress, encourage you to continue that work, and please order to have some sort of backup, some sort of safety net in your jurisdiction as we get ready for whatever winter surge approaches in the next months. Thanks a lot. Appreciate all you do. And back to you, Eugene.
Thank you, Dr. Schechter. Point well taken. We can do more to protect the little kiddos. You can reference Nisha's slide on this deck, number 44, to see what products are available to you for the little ones. Next slide, please. The next set of presentations will be about systems. To kick us off is Cecilia Sandoval with CARE.
Thank you, Jean. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cecilia, and I'm the project policy analyst for CARE. So we can move on to the next slide, please. So as you can see, there's a lot of information on the upcoming slides. Just want to point out that we did have a release in CARE on November 12th. That was last week. We updated the 2025-26 influenza schedule. There was also a SOGI update, one in several in the series. We also added the new Moderna mNEXT spike vaccine to the COVID series. In December, right now, we are working with Gainwell, the vendor, to continue the SOGI update part 2, updating the ACIP default schedule to read CDPH. So as all of you know, we will be following the West Coast Health Alliance immunization schedule. So we want to make sure that we are following that schedule in CARE. So you will see that there is an ACIP schedule for VFC providers and a CDPH schedule that will follow the West Coast Health Alliance. We will give more information on that when that release is done and kind of give you a demo or give you screenshots just to help guide you with that. But just so you know, that is coming up to make sure that we are validating the doses of COVID vaccine that are being administered as well as influenza. And we're also looking for future releases. There was a report about a week or two ago regarding the PCV for adults recommendation being off. And this is specifically impacting the 50 and over population. Somehow, in one of the releases that was done, that part of the schedule was not transferred over. So we are working on getting that updated. It will not happen for December. So please beware that if you do see that it's not recommending or not validating incorrectly, we are aware of that. And we are working on getting a fix out. And the remaining SOGI updates will be done as well. We also received reports of the the Heplisav and Twinrix, some not validating correctly. So that's also something that we are working on getting out for you. Next slide, please. And here it's a lot of these updates that were done to the front end were also done to data exchange and will be done in future releases. Next slide, please. So regarding the DVR, they also had a release on November 12th, and that actually added support for the COVID Moderna mNEXT spike vaccine to be added to the COVID-19 vaccine record QR code, as well as some homepage errors that were occurring with the navigation bar. Another release will be upcoming on December 9th, and that includes updating the evaluator to version 2.5. That will be adding support for non-routine travel vaccines such as cholera, encephalitis, typhoid fever, and yellow fever vaccine. And again, my DVR assistant development to the DVR website. Future releases include enhancing enhancements to the California immunization record, as well as some auto reminders for vaccine recommendations. Next slide, please. Going back to the releases that have been done, excuse me, a lot of these have to do with staff remediation tool, the upcoming slides, making sure that there are enhancements being done for our staff that are going through the remediation tickets. So that will be for December 9th and also future releases. And there was with the past release, the user experience was enhanced so that they could submit multiple DVR requests via the multiple submission form. It consolidated communications for matched and unmatched recipients as well. Next slide, please. And one thing that I wanted to point out with this is just so that you know, there is quite a bit of a wait time right now for those who are submitting remediation tickets via the virtual assistant tool. So one of those updates for the December release will include updating the verbiage to allow to notify these people who are submitting those remediation requests that there is a longer wait time. And as always, trying to make sure that security updates are being done, updates to reporting and monitoring as well. Next slide, please. And that's it. So I'll pass it on to Eugene so he can introduce the next presenter.
Thank you, Cecilia. And we hope this trio will do handoffs within their presentations. Let's hear about vaccine management from Josh, Angel, and Dan. And I just want to say for Josh, Angel, and Dan, we're really glad that we have additional time for you to slow down. Typically, when there's a lot on the agenda, we breeze over this last section, but it's so important. So please take your time and give us as much detail as you'd like. We'll start with Josh.
Thank you, Eugene. Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Bokus. I'm the IT project manager over MyTurn. Next slide, please. All right, so I did just notice that I did miss the date on this slide when we brought it over. On the subsequent slides after this, the date is correct, but for some reason, I skipped over this. My brain reviewing this on Friday and Monday, so apologies. This should say November 13th for our recent release, not October. But I want to look at the content here. So in MyTurn Public, we did remove some Rite Aid and some independent pharmacy. We added some pharmacy links in there, removed some old pharmacy links like Rite Aid that are no longer in business. We did update that pop-up window for the single and multi-vaccination location cards. When you are on the vaccine locator page and you do click on to book an appointment, it is now very explicit and direct when it states to the public of what you should select in our scheduling flow. Next slide, please. So this is the correct date, Thursday, November 13th. This was our release, R64 last week. We are going through the system and cleaning up a lot of old pandemic functionality that is no longer used. So you'll see a lot of different removes on this slide. You can't see them in the system because they're removed. So I can call some out, but it's a lot of old features that are no longer being used in MyTurn, such as like the intraday reports page, a communication tab that had been sitting out there since inception. I believe that came with our Salesforce system. It was an out of the box feature that just was never developed. And of course, some additional tabs in the system. We have gone through and we're starting to clean up the system for you to make it a little more straightforward, such as internal and public clinic name fields. We did release a new clone feature for MyTurn clinics in the clinic system. So now you'll see on all those fields throughout the system, it will explicitly say internal clinic name or public clinic name. We also updated some patient demographic information fields in Care Quick Entry, rearranged some items just to make your lives a little bit easier when doing data entry. Next slide, please. All right, well, also on this, that's what I said, we updated the internal clinic name, public clinic name throughout the system, renamed some additional fields and some additional tabs in our system. And then if we go to the next slide, I do want to talk about a workaround and an issue we have right now with our most recent release. So our new cloning feature, the one that allows you to clone an existing clinic, that new wizard we built in October, it does have an issue with the cloning feature. If you have additional override hours. Now, most of you most likely don't have override hours. I haven't seen a lot of clinics utilize this, but it really is for those clinics that are multi-day clinics, like a week long, and they want to put in an override hour for, let's say, the lunch hour to show the public they're not open during that lunch hour, or it's a holiday. If you have multiple override hours, that means more than one, then our cloning feature will then kind of get into this loop and will freeze. So the workaround is that you just go to that old clinic, remove those override hours from your availability page, and you can add them back later once you clone that clinic if you're using the cloning feature. Or you could just recreate the clinic with our new wizard, which should be pretty straightforward, one-stop shop wizard creation feature for a new clinic. So I do want to note that there is a workaround. We are working on a fix for our December release for this, but for right now, you do have to remove those additional override hours. Not the availability as a whole, just those override hours. Next slide, and I believe I'll pass it over to our DVR rep.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Angel, and I'm on the MyDVR website development team. And today I'll be sharing a recent update that we made to the digital vaccine record request form, and also a really cool update. So we call this feature the multiple submission request form, and it greatly benefits parents and guardians by providing them with just a better user experience when trying to retrieve immunization records for their children or minor dependents. So before we made this change, if a parent or guardian wanted to retrieve immunization records for their entire family, especially during busy seasons like school enrollment periods, they would need to complete the request form and then submit, then go back and then complete the form all over again, and then just repeat the process for each of their children or minor dependents. So not the most ideal user experience, but with this enhancement, parents and guardians can now request their record and then up to 3 additional immunization records for their minors all at once, all on the same form. So now we will be providing them with a combined total of up to 4 DVR records at once. Next slide, please. So how this feature works is the parent or guardian will input their information first. So usual information, name, date of birth, and contact details. And then they can click the Add Minor Dependent button up to 3 times and fill out the minor's name and date of birth. So we'll go ahead and match the minor's information using the parent's phone number or email in the registry. And the parent or guardian will then receive separate texts or emails from us, alerting them of which DVR is matched, and of course, if we weren't able to match any recipients in the registry. Next slide, please. So since releasing this feature in June, parents and guardians have requested 22,000 additional records for their minors. So right now we're seeing around a 72% match rate for parents and then 74% match rate for their minor dependents in the registry. The match rate right now on this feature appears less than our normal match rate, which hovers around 83% daily. But that's just due to the sample size of people using the multi-submission form being smaller than our overall total submissions, which includes just single submissions. So here we can see that adding 1 minor dependent is definitely utilized the most, and then it just drops off when a parent or guardian is trying to add up to 3 dependents at once. Next slide, please. And just last week, we released another enhancement to this experience by consolidating the text and email communications for an even better user experience for the parents and guardians. So previously, parents or guardians would receive up to 4 separate messages from us, utilize it if there were separate DVR links, or of course, if there were recipients that didn't match. Now, parents or guardians will receive 1 consolidated text or email pictured in the right on the screenshots over there for all matching records in the list order. And then, of course, they'll receive just another separate text or email from us if only there were no recipients that we could match in the registry. All right, thank you so much for your time today, everyone. I'll be passing it over to Dan.
Thanks, Angel. Next slide, please. Well, let's talk about MyCVAX, what's new. Release 62, which was launched on November 13th. We brought again additional outbreak program functionality. this, as was mentioned earlier in the program, that we will be deploying all of Outbreak functionality next month in December. So right now, with the November release, we updated the virtual and physical transfer update. We updated some of the program location participation, as well as the enrollment improvements. And there's also an update to the EasyIZ training page, which allows providers to view their staff training statuses for their location. So that's now in MyCFAX, as well as an update to our recertification process, which now supports out-of-state license reports. Next slide. All right, locating flu and RSV allocation for providers. So there's the ability within the system to be able to see what their provider can take a look and see their flu and RSV allocations. They actually do this from the order form. So they navigate to the orders page and select the program that they want to view the allocations for. In order to actually see it, you do have to click on the new orders button. So we'll do that. Next slide, please. And from there, they will select the program location that they're wanting to view, and then they can click on the View Allocations detail link that they'll see on the page there. As you see, it shows up in the table, and that brings up the screen, which allows them to see the product and the allocations that have been received, has been totally allocated from the state, as what also the balance of what's available to order. Next slide. And so as a reminders, allocations are up to date in MyCFAX. The place orders are with the placed orders do draw down from those allocations. And if you need any additional vaccines allocated to your site, please contact CDPH. Next slide. One of the improvements that also came out with this last release was that now the uploads for creating shipment incidents and excursions, you can now upload files larger than 3 megabytes. It has been a limitation for some time. Now with the November release, provider uploads are now only limited to 60 megabytes. So now it's much larger. And if you do try to do a upload larger than 60 megabytes, you will get an error similar to what was happening in the past, but you are capable now of uploading much larger files. Next slide, please. If both the excursions and shipment incidents do have specific files types that you can load during the initial upload process when creating an incident, shipping incident, and an excursion. On a shipment incidents, your PDF, PNGs, and JPEG files are the accepted files initially. You do have a few more options on the excursion, and those files are all acceptable during the initial creation. If you need to upload something different, you complete the initial entry of the shipment incident and the excursion. You do need to upload an acceptable file first. And once you're done with that, then you can then go back to the shipment incident or the excursion and upload an alternative file. We'll talk about that on the next slide. Next slide, please. So when you go back to and select either the shipment incident or excursions, you can also then upload an alternative file that you could not upload during the initial process. So you click the home page, you select the incident, click on the ID. Next slide, please. And then navigate to the related tab where you can upload a file, and then you can upload the desired file that you need to attach to that shipment incident or excursion. This is also limited to 60 megabytes. Next slide, please. All right. This is a slide just saying we're saying goodbye to the California Bridge Access Program. It has been with us for quite a time, but as of November 13th, the CABAP program has closed. During the program, we delivered 37,700 BAP doses were distributed. And we just want to thank you all for your participation and your distribution of these COVID vaccines through this program. So what has changed since we've closed the program? So providers have lost access to the BAP functionality on the community side. You're not able to download reports or complete program activities. All functionality has been closed down on the program side. LHDs, you do have access, you continue to have access to your user-generated BAP reports, especially those saved into your personal folders. However, you may have to adjust some of the filters depending on what you had created, but the BAP dashboards and shared reports are not accessible any longer. But if there's something on there that's needed after the 13th, please contact CDPH. You can view inactive BAP program location data within the portal on the LHD admin portal, but you will not be able to perform any of the BAP program activities such as ordering or excursion reporting. All right, I believe that's my last slide. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, we are going to talk about the outbreak programs. I was a little ahead of myself here. So the outbreak programs I mentioned earlier, we are going live next month on the 18th. That's our next MyCVAX release, and we will be ready to bring up the outbreak program to production, make it available. Post program go live. So there's training will be coming. LSU training begins in late January. We will be sending out invitations via email. And if there is if you need to reach out to the central office, that's the email for the outbreak email, and we want to CC your senior field rep if you have an outbreak or need additional guidance before training is delivered. Next slide. And we do have there's a high-level overview of all the new MyCVAX outbreak program, which launches next month. You have the ability to do an online submission of your outbreak authorization request. The CDPH does have a review process. It's built into MyCVAX. Upon approval, you'll receive also a vaccine allocation. The outbreak ordering will be done through MyCVAX, and it's just tied to your authorization, outbreak authorization. And there'll also be you'll be able to do your LHD reporting activities via MyCVAX. Next slide. And that was it. Back to you, Eugene.
Thank you so much, Dan. And for people on the call, I don't know, when you get like an update on, like, say, your mobile phone, all the new software come up, like, don't you get excited? I do. So every single month we get updates about changes in care, MyCVAX, My Turn, and today DVR. Those are awesome changes that help improve your life and your work. So please utilize them. And as we talk about resources, there are two at your fingertips. One, the slides. So for example, you can take Cecilia's reports or Cecilia's slides and Josh and Angel and Dan's and share them with your colleagues, please. It doesn't end with just us on the call. Spread them widely, and you can even use them as content for any in-service trainings, general updates to your teams, because not everyone is on this call and you get the benefit of early information. So please share them widely. Other two resources are these calls, because we can answer your questions directly, and each other. For example, in the answer portion of the Q&A, there was a question about the DVR poster. We believe that has been taken down, but we hear your request that it could be a demand from the public, and we will look at what resources we can do to provide a DVR poster or flyer. So more to come. And also in the Q&A, Yawanda, if you notice, the question is there, and it's a difficult balancing game of like, well, how do we predict what the demand is for something like COVID, especially in this day and age? I wonder if any SME on the call would like to unmute and respond to Yawanda's question, especially have any counties done some type of needs assessment for non-VFC COVID as a barrier?
Eugene, while we're waiting to see if any of local partners have information, I just wanted to say that if there's uncertainty, certainly can start with modest orders, with ordering a small amount. having that on hand for uncertain demand. Over. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Schechter. Would any other panelist like to respond to Yowanda's question? There may not be any immediate responses right now. Sometimes you ask very good questions and we have to sit and think what is the most appropriate response, and we may have to do some digging. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Yowanda. I think a lot of people are dealing with this, the balancing game. Catherine also has a question about the DVR. Are there plans to have the DVR formally replace the CDPH yellow card paper vaccination record? If anyone would like to unmute and respond. There may not be a formal answer for that yet, Catherine. It does make sense, and we can look into that. Again, you ask very good questions that we may not be prepared to respond formally at the moment. However, you do give us areas to think about and explore. We'll conclude with the resources. Next slide, please. Please know that these are also at your fingertips. The Provider Call Center, we mentioned them in the beginning. They are your go-to for many, many questions regarding the state programs. You can call them at 833-502-1245. Next slide. If you'd like to know more about My CAVAX and My Turn, there is a knowledge center that you would need access to for in My CAVAX. And you can check out the virtual assistant. It's a relatively new feature, and you'll also need to log into My CAVAX to experiment asking questions with the virtual assistant. Next slide, please. And finally, if you have any questions about state general flu program, you can look into the IZ coordinators page, and everyone should have the cute password for accessing that page. Next slide, please. Usually we take this time to answer any Q&As, and we'll take a look at what else is there. This is a care question that Cecilia is answering right now. Cecilia or Amy will let you continue answering. However, Esther has a comment rather. She says, parents still want something physical for schools, or if they come from another country. Not everyone is high tech, and this is regarding replacing the yellow cards with DVR. So that's a good consideration, Esther, for the branch to consider. Does any SME, would you like to unmute and answer any question from the Q&A live?
Hi, Eugene.
Yeah.
This is Michael. Regarding the plans to replace the yellow card, the paper yellow card, there are no plans to remove the yellow card. The DVR is a great alternative for those who can use it, but we have no plans of removing the paper forms.
There we go. We heard from the person himself, Michael Powell, who's helming care projects. So thank you for that clarification, Mike. Would any other SME like to unmute? Okay. Otherwise, we are about to wrap up this meeting. Thank you for joining. Next slide, please. You can also join us again this Friday during the immunization updates for providers. If not, we wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you again next month. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you to the webinar support team, especially Michael Fortunka and Anya Gutman. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. This concludes this webinar.